Hello, welcome to Win Some Lose More. My name is Dieter Loosemore and you join me for Solo Central, where I play through one of the games in my collection that has a solo mode. Today I ummed and ahed about whether to use some of the more narrative driven games. I didn't want spoilers necessarily, but I have decided I've been playing today's game a fair amount recently. I picked it up a couple of weeks ago or so, and I've been ploughing through it in my spare time. This is Legacy of Dragonholt by Fantasy Flight Games. It's supposedly a 1 to 6 player game. General consensus is this is a solo game, and my experience of the mechanisms, as you'll see, kind of holds up with that. I'm jumping in a bit after the beginning into like the second or the third or fourth play, just because that opening chapter is quite prescriptive and that would be more spoilery, whereas where I'm jumping in now is a bit more I've made a few choices, so I'm at this point. You might do it all differently, and so hopefully that alleviates some of the spoilers. But anyway, Legacy of Dragonholt, let's go. So this is a bit more setup than I even would be when I'm just playing on my own, just so you can see as much as you want to. I'm currently in Dragonholt Village. This is a storybook. I'm using printouts you can get from the Fantasy Flight website, but they do come with these in the game. I just didn't want to ruin the components, so I've written on these in pencil so you can't really see it. But I've got my character, Darren Glurry, a little gnome who lives out on his own but has fallen in with this. A little tracker of whilst I'm in the town itself. Sorry, that's Dragonholt Village tracking sheet. I'm 4 units of time into day 1, and then this is like the whole campaign tracking sheet. It asks you to read different bits, and if you've got certain story points checked off, it might change the outcome. So I'll leave those on here. Being in the village means I can kind of go wherever I want, and then the number of the location tells me the entry to read in this book. Don't worry, I'm not going to attempt voices particularly. I've done a couple of these, and I've picked up some items, but they don't matter right now, I don't think, unless I'm missing something completely. It's where do I want to go? Really, from the information that I've had so far, I want to chat to the stables, but there doesn't seem to be stables available for me to go to. That's okay. So I can kind of go wherever I want. I could go to the pub. I could check out, let's go to the market, just see what's there. So it tells me Market Street here is 5500. Every entry is a 4-digit code. So I just flip this book to the correct entry. There it is, 55, what was it, 00, Market Street. And then I read it. Dragonholt's Market Street is barely 100 yards long, a wide, partly cobbled lane that runs from the village green out towards the fields and farms that surround the town. Along the centre of the street marches a line of trees, providing a number of convenient boughs to which merchants might tie their tents and awnings where they set up their stalls. Bordering the street are several permanent fixture stores. Along the west side of the street, a seamstress, a woodworker, a butcher and a smithy. Along the east side, the apothecary shop, a bakery and a Fletcher. A small tea house stands between the apothecary shop and the bakery. There are no posted business hours, and you can't say you've ever seen the shop open, but it is in fine condition all the same. And then the arrow is what to do next on one of these entries. So it just says read the entry that responds to the current day. So again, I can look at my tracking sheet, and I'm still in day 1 because I've only crossed off 4 units of time. So I go to the entry that says day 1, which is the one below. A small group of young goats is cavorting in the row of trees, climbing up into the lower branches and leaping down upon one another. 2 small human children are watching and laughing, but when they see you, they run off between the bakers and Fletchers to play somewhere else. The goats, at least, are indifferent to your presence. For the time being, no stalls or carts are set up along the centre of the street. A notice board under a large tree at the end of the street indicates that the next market day is 2 days from now, so day 3. And so the action here is nothing of interest is happening here right now. This encounter is complete. Well, that's not a waste of time. I now know the market opens in 2 days. If I'm here, I don't know. I don't really know where to go. Let's try the apothecary shop. I had some links to there with the character Mariam that I'd met before, so 6300 is there. Apothecary shop. The apothecary shop is a 2-story building featuring a large storefront and multiple back rooms. A show window fills nearly the entire front of the building, looking out towards the village green. Then it's got 2 options here. If 5 or less time has passed today, read the entry below that corresponds to the current day. Otherwise, the apothecary shop is not open at this time. This encounter is complete. And only 4 has passed today, so that is 5 or less. So I do go to apothecary shop day 1. The walls of the apothecary shop are darkened by soot and burnt wood. The front door and its frame are splintered as if the door had been blown off its frame by an explosion. Several boards fastened in a sheet are nailed over what was once a large show window. And then options: if 0 time has passed today, read a certain entry, or if 3 or more time has passed today, read the other. I've got 4. 8272. So this is all the game is. 8272 up there on the top right. The front door and the boards that held it in its frame are leaning against the outside wall. You can hear the chipper voice of a certain gnome, that's Mariam I believe, prattling away inside. The excited chatter is occasionally punctuated by commentary from Braxton, who's a half-orc, an orc or something. Within, you find Braxton holding the charred remains of a cabinet and Mariam gesticulating with a broom. And I'll replace that window with a giant pane of glass. I'll put some tools and some ingredients in the window, showy stuff, and, glass tubes and colourful mushrooms and things. Mariam turns to include you in her excited chatter, apparently not at all surprised to find you in her shop. Today we get all this debris out, and tomorrow we bring in the materials to lay new floor and start fixing these walls. It'll be great, you'll see. She flourishes with her broom toward the back room. I'll set up my workshop back there and use the front space for stock and sales. It'll have a good light. It's important that customers feel comfortable. How about your guests? Asks Braxton, nodding at you. Oh, right. Good to see you. So now I've got 2 choices. Offer to help with the renovations, or leave Mariam and Braxton to their work. I've got nothing else to do, as far as I know, unless I've completely missed something, which very likely, but let's do 1057. 1057. Oh, it's near the beginning. It is on the first page. Oh, are you sure? Asks Mariam. I wouldn't want to impose. You have your own business to attend to. Before you can change your mind, Mariam points at a broken pile of wood and glass. That used to be a cabinet. Could you help Braxton take it out to the cart in back? You work together to remove all the ruined furniture, then start tearing up the damaged floorboards with a pry bar. And now consequences happen of doing this thing. Where is my pencil? There it is. You each lose 2 stamina, so kind of how much energy you have to do things. That was determined within character creation what my maximum was. I have a maximum of 14, so I've dropped to 12. There are ways, I know I've been to one of the bars that I could eat and regain stamina, or if it becomes a new day, you've tended to restore them. What else happens? Mark 1 progress in physical training. I'm not even sure what that means. Physical training. Let's look at the rules. Mark 1 progress in physical training. Oh, is that on? Yes, it is. Okay, so on my Dragonholt tracking sheet, there is a thing called progress for heroism, academic study, combat training, physical training, social practice, spiritual meditation, and it said Mark 1 for physical training. Okay, I can do a maximum of 6. Oh, and I get to learn additional skills if I've got all 6 filled in. That's fun. And you lose 2 stamina, Mark 1, and time passes. So we're now on evening. 5 time has passed. Eventually, Braxton reports that the cart is full. I'll get rid of it, she says. Be right back. So I can either offer to help Braxton dispose of the refuse or stay with Mariam to continue demolition. I'm going to stay with Mariam because why not? 1675 is there. Oops. May as well get started on the next cartload, says Mariam, twirling her pry bar dramatically, dropping it, snatching it back up, and smiling as if nothing happened. Together you dismantle every soot-blackened surface of the back room. As you work, you take the opportunity to get to know Mariam better. So again, got some choices. Ask about Mariam's business from before Dragonholt. Ask about Mariam's family. Ask how she met Braxton. Now, I've previously asked stuff about Braxton, so I'm going to continue pursuing that line of inquiry for no other reason than none of them seem linked to anything. What was it? 7125. 7125. Mariam starts laughing before she even begins her story about meeting Braxton. Well, first of all, whatever Braxton tells you, I wasn't drunk, but we did both get thrown out of the same tavern together. It was a good night. Mariam pauses in her excited chatter to pour a fizzing liquid from a flask onto the floor. She then begins to scrub the area with a broom. To your surprise, the caked-on gunk simply dissolves, revealing not too damaged floorboards beneath. After we left the bar, Braxton helped me out a few times that night, continues Mariam. We're walking along, talking, and some thug just walks right into me. So naturally, I give him a piece of my mind, and he pulls a knife on me. Braxton was still so worked up from the brawl at the tavern that she let the guy and his friends have it. After that, we decided to cool off by the river. I thought it would be fun to go for a swim, but Braxton wouldn't let me. She's a real wet blanket sometimes, you know. You nod, but you're not sure how much of Mariam's story should, or she expects you, to believe. Braxton pokes her head in through the door. I'm back, she says, and also I'm not a wet blanket. Let's load the cart back up. Read entry 9485. 9485. Working together, you fill the second cart full of refuse quickly and deposit another load at the village green. Then you pause for a drink of water and take stock of the situation. Time passes, so we track another time on here. Oops. So to say, it comes with versions of it, but I've just printed it out. So it's another time, so we're into 6. If 6 or more time has passed today, it has now. Read this one, otherwise I'd have done another one. And this one is 6761. 6761. The sunset paints the sky above you a deep orange, and Mariam sighs, looking up at it. All right, that's a good day's work, I think. Let's go back to the Swan and get some dinner. Braxton's stomach rumbles, and she nods. Yes, let's. Mariam turns to you. If you care to join us, I'm buying. It's the least I can do after your help today. She hops down from the shop, skips humming down the street. Braxton follows her, her voice rumbling in the twilight. Buying dinner is quite easy when your aunt refuses to let any of us pay for food. This encounter is complete, so I've done a little bit of stuff and progressed in physical training. That's nice. Do I want to go with them to the Swan, which is here? Been there before, but it is now late evening in terms of time tracking. Okay, so let's go back to the Swan. And 7400. 7400. The Swan. The Swan is a neat, elegant building standing on a foundation of grey stone. The inn rises 2 stories above you, its walls shingled with blue-stained wood and its glassed-in windows surrounded by whitewashed shutters. The obvious care that goes into the building's upkeep somehow conspires to make it seem smallish and homey, despite being one of the largest buildings in the village. The Swan, day 1. The common room is particularly quiet. A pair of patrons are playing a game that features a circular board and several pieces of wood carved to resemble knights, dragons, and other fanciful creatures. A human woman sits in a comfortable-looking chair by the hearth, wrapped almost entirely in a blanket and reading a book. If 6 or more time has passed today, read 6028, which it has, and I assume this is just how it allows me to pick up from what I was doing. 6028. There. You see Braxton at a table near the kitchen, leaning back in her chair with a relaxed expression. She too notices you and waves, motioning for you to join her. Oh, I can be rude if I want to. Join Braxton in the common room, or ignore Braxton and retire for the night. All remaining time passes and this encounter is complete, or I can just walk out the door. I'm not going to be rude. I am going to join Braxton in the common room, read 2609. There. Good evening, says Braxton. Mariam and Sapphire are finishing dinner. Just as she's saying it, the two gnomes emerge from the kitchen. Sapphire sets a large pot of stewed potatoes and mutton in the centre of the table and vanishes back into the kitchen. Mariam sets a basket of dinner rolls and a jar of berry jam beside the pot and takes her seat beside Braxton. Here we are, says Sapphire as she reappears, with a pitcher of milk and a second pitcher of water. Dig in, everyone. I'll be right back after I check on the other patrons. Thank you, Sapphire, says Braxton as she ladles stew into a bowl. You serve yourself something to eat, and before long Sapphire returns and sits to enjoy her dinner. How did things go with the guard? Asks Sapphire as she pours herself a glass of milk. Braxton swallows a mouthful of stew. It went well. It seems they could really use my help. The captain of the guard, Tweagle, thinks it would be good for me to start by teaching the others what I've learned as a knight. It seems they haven't had a true master-at-arms since the war. That's great, exclaims Mariam, as she stuffs a piece of roll covered with jam into her mouth. I told you you'd find some work, she manages before taking a drink of milk. So I can say, congratulations, Braxton. How's the shop looking, Mariam? Or what brought you to Dragonholt, Sapphire? It's who I'm going to talk to. We're talking about Braxton. For me, we're going to keep talking to Braxton. 2638 should be next page. There. Yes, congratulations, says Mariam. She leaps to her feet, standing on the chair, and lifts her glass. To Braxton, the new master-at-arms. To Braxton, says Sapphire, raising her own glass. The two patrons playing their game also raise their glasses. I'm not a master-at-arms yet, says Braxton. I've just agreed to help out a little. Formally joining the Countess's guard. That's a big commitment, Mariam. I don't make those lightly. Oh, says Mariam, of course. Then sits down and stares thoughtfully at her glass of cider. Okay, read 3381. 3381. You try and fail to stifle a yawn. Mariam and Sapphire follow suit, and even Braxton folds to the impulse. I think I'll be going to bed now, says Mariam as she stretches. Big day tomorrow. You help Braxton and Sapphire clear the table. Braxton and Mariam ascend the stairs together towards their room, and Mariam checks on the woman reading by the hearth. The two men who are playing chess must have returned to their rooms while you ate. You stretch and decide to turn in for the night as well. So all remaining time passes, and this encounter for the day, and this encounter is complete. So let's shut that for a second. Keep losing my pencil. There it is. So let's mark off 7 and 8. So day 1 is complete. How productively I've used it, I don't know. But it says, when 8 time has passed in day 1, read entry 3877. So either it will put me on a new track or something will happen in the night. 3877. You return to your room and turn in for the night, collapsing into sleep almost immediately. Your dreams are strange and unsettled, full of lurking threats in the shadows, and the shadow of wings falling across the land, cast by a roaring fire. You wake in the middle of the night, cross to your window, and look out across the sleeping village by moonlight. Eventually, you sleep again, and dream of an endless forest, and a plaintive voice calling for you. Okay. You each recover half your maximum stamina, so up to 7, but I'd only lost 2, so I am back at full. So I'm back at 14. Can't write left-handed, but we'll give it a go. You each refresh your activation token. That's how you would do it. In multiplayer, you take turns making decisions, but even then, I think you could just do it democratically rather than the activation tokens that they give you. This chapter of the story ends here. When you're ready to begin the next chapter, read 3432. So the game does kind of help you break up when you take breaks and whatnot. It says on the book 30 to 50 minutes per chapter, and each adventure that you can go on, so that's 50 to 80 minutes. It kind of gives you that information. I'm just kind of picking up and putting down as I choose because I'm playing on my own, because I can do that. Yeah, and then these brown boxes, if they introduce a new concept, it just tells you, so chapters and taking breaks. The end of a day marks the end of a chapter in the story. The end of a chapter is a great time to take a break. You might wish to stop playing for now and pick up from here at a later date. If so, record the entry number you have been directed to on the story tracking sheet so you can pick up where you left off next time. And I'm going to go straight to 3, 4, 3, 2. 3, 4, 3, 2. You wake the next morning, a bit later than usual, greeted again by the smell of freshly baked bread and seasoned meats. As you dress yourself, you can hear Mariam's voice above the other patrons coming from the common room. You step out of your room and head down to breakfast. Mariam, Braxton and Sapphire are sitting together as usual, and the younger gnome waves you over. You greet them and take your seat, serving yourself a plate of delicious-looking food. Braxton has apparently asked Sapphire about the Great Oak in Eventide Forest. We went there earlier in the story. Oh, you must be talking about the Tree of Tales, answers Sapphire. That old oak has been there for centuries, according to the stories. The people of Dragonholt say that a benevolent spirit lives in the tree. Sapphire stops to take a drink of her tea before continuing. There's a custom in Dragonholt to tell your tales to the spirit, whether spoken or written. They say you'll be blessed with good fortune if the spirit is moved by your story. Some of the villagers have taken to leaving gifts for the spirit as well, in hopes of gaining its admiration, I suppose. Fascinating, says Braxton. Mariam frantically scribbles something on a piece of parchment and pockets it. When Braxton looks at her curious, Mariam just says, "Just making a note to myself." Braxton raises an eyebrow, and an almost imperceptible grin crosses Sapphire's lips. Choices. Ask Mariam and Braxton about their plans for the day. Ask Sapphire about the wooden trinket you found, but I must have the wooden trinket, but I do. If there are any special events coming up, finish your breakfast. Okay, I have an item that I picked up because of choices that I'd made before. As I say, this might be different when you play, so I have access to this because it requires it. Ask Sapphire about the wooden trinket you found. Requires wooden trinket item. Read 9906. Oops, gone too far. 9906 on the right hand side. You produce a small bundle of cloth and unwrap it, revealing the wooden trinket you found at the Tree of Tales. Oh my, breathes Sapphire. May I? You nod, and she carefully lifts the trinket, examining the craftsmanship. She turns it over in her hand and giggles when she sees the letters etched into the wood. As I thought, she says as she returns the trinket. This is most certainly carved by Theodore. Have you met him? He's a very kind, elderly human man. He's lived in the village his whole life. Theo opened the woodworking shop in the market when he was a young man, but he's been retired for a while now. He comes by the Swan for breakfast or lunch on occasion, but he spends most of his time at the Chatty Archer or in the market. Even after retiring, he's still whittling every day, so I need to remember, if I want to speak to this person, Chatty Archer or market. We learned earlier the market's not on for until day 3, and it's currently day 2, so probably Chatty Archer. Even after retiring, still whittling every day. The bell signals someone entering the Swan, and Sapphire stands. I'm sure Theo will be happy to see that particular piece again, she says before running off to greet the new patron. You return to your room to retrieve what you'll need for the day ahead. If story point V6 is marked, this encounter is complete. Let me check my tracking thing. Story point V6 is marked. Again, as a consequence for doing something within the story. Otherwise, it would have probably propelled me into doing it because I was taking too long. But this encounter is complete. So, where did she say? Chatty Archer. I don't think it's open yet. No time has passed. Let's find out. 6500. Chatty Archer. Ooh. Oh yeah. An archery butt lies under the maple tree outside a rustic lodge-style cavern. Several arrows are stuck within it, and others stand point down in the earth by the tavern's polished pinewood door. A strong bow hangs over the door, nestled under the awning to protect it from the from the elements. If 4 or more time has passed today, read the entry below. Otherwise, it's not open until evening. So I can't even go there. That gives you a show of it. Obviously, sometimes in combat and whatnot, I'll just show you a bit of my character sheet. You have skills. So I have stealth, craftsmanship, endurance, survival, archery, military, and athletics. And so it might ask you at various points, or give you the options of what you want to do to them. If you want to shoot at them, you must have the archery skill. If you want to talk them down, you've got to have persuasion or deception or whatever they're called in this game. Those kinds of things. So your character sheet just kind of changes which options are available to you, and some things obviously require stamina, which you may or may not have. Yeah, and then as you've seen already, the tracking sheet here tells you, it also opens up or blocks off different story beats as you do. I have 3 fame, 95 gold. But yeah, I don't want to go too far into it because I don't want to spoil too much, but that's just a taste of the town. And then obviously when you go off on adventures, instead of a big book, it's a smaller book that's a bit more linear in what it's telling you to do. I think there's 6 of those, or 5 in Dragonholt Village. So that's Legacy of Dragonholt, or a taste of it at least. I've got some healing potions and bits I've picked up along the way, and you get this letter right at the beginning. This isn't a spoiler, this is the first thing that happens. That there seems to be some kind of plot going on that at some point I'll have access to trying to figure out. But for now, that'll do. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it or found it even vaguely interesting. Yeah, join me again for another one. I'll be back again at some point in the next, probably next week, with another Solo Central, playing a different game. In the meantime, you can like, follow, share, subscribe, all the usual things to the channel, or find me on social media, those kinds of whatnots. It's been great getting a few more comments from people, so do leave a comment below if you like, and I'll see you again. Thank you very much. I've been Dieter for Win Some Lose More. Bye.